So, Thomas, I know from my perspective, because of the injunction, I've sort of pushed this down the road, but it kind of brought to question from a practice compliance standpoint, what's sort of your approach to staying in tune with what is coming down the path in terms of regulations and law changes for your practice?
Well, I'm in Indiana, just like you. So, uh, what I do is I'm subscribed to the Indiana Lawyer and also Rest Gesti, which is the Indiana State Bar Association's magazine. And they do both of those publications do a good job of keeping attorneys up to date on new developments in the law. Uh, One thing that I like to do in the Indiana Lawyer is read the new cases. It's a great concise summary of each Court of Appeals case and each Indiana Supreme Court case, and they also have the federal district court decisions too in there. So you can kind of figure out what is happening in the law based upon those court cases. And I don't do criminal defense, so I kind of skip over those, but I do estate administration. So if there is some contested estate issue that is being addressed in a Court of Appeals case, I take special note of that case and distribute it among my team members if it's relevant to something that we do. And of course, going to CLEs and just being an informed citizen, watching the news, all those things are a great way to kind of figure out what's going on. If you work in administrative law, keeping up with the rules that are promulgated with that, and another great way of keeping up to date with developments in the law is to talk with other attorneys. Here in Indiana, there's a great listserv that you can get on, and attorneys ask questions and answer questions back and forth about certain issues that they're seeing on their side of their side of the state, their side of the city, and that's always a great thing to review and see if you're missing anything.
Yeah, those are some great suggestions. I'm also a subscriber of the Indiana Lawyer and try to maintain at least an overview of kind of what's in front of the Court of Appeals and what are they handing down. Obviously, you can't keep up with everything, or that would be spending all your time doing that. But when that case kind of jumps off the page at me of dealing with an area of practice that may influence the firm, I want to be aware of that and make sure the other attorneys in my office are also aware of that. There's a good chance they've already seen that, but I want to make sure that that's in front of them. And like you say, anytime you see something on the news, or maybe it's LinkedIn or a blog post, I try to follow some of the Supreme Court issues that are there in terms of what cases are coming up for hearing or where the oral argument has taken place and what was sort of the areas of focus of the Supreme Court, and see if that's a case then I need to follow a little bit more closely because it may have sort of downstream impact on my practice or may affect Indiana law and how something's happening there. So it's just trying to navigate the flow of information that's available. Obviously, tools like AI are really helpful. So one thing I will do is I have Grok go out and look at our firm name and tell me if there's any new news about the firm. Are we showing up in an article somewhere? Are there doesn't really get into, say, like Google reviews. I think we talked about that a couple weeks ago, where you have some reviews that sometimes are positive, sometimes are not so positive, but I want to be aware of those. And so the AI tool can go out and kind of look at that kind of stuff on the publicly available sites, and it'll pick up things like if I write an article for the Indiana Lawyer, it'll find, hey, Seth Wilson published an article for the Indiana Lawyer, or what have you. So those tools running automatically on a daily basis are helpful, I think, because it kind of shows, hey, you don't have anything. Oh, here's something new. And then you don't have anything. Here's something new. And so just kind of keeping tabs on myself and the other attorneys in the office so I kind of know what's the public persona of the law firm and what's going on there. And again, as we put out information on things like the residential real estate rule and those kind of things, that also gets in front of people. And so it has sort of a marketing component to it as well. So if it's a case I'm interested in and want to share it with others who, either through the podcast here or through some of our blogs or newspaper or what have you, that's also a good thing to stay top of mind with folks. So try to tie all of that together and, redeem that time that you spend learning and staying up to date by sharing that information out and keeping your name top of mind with folks.